Hello, everyone, and welcome to our channel. I'm Mark.
And I'm Rob.
Today, we're going to talk about the mess with the Seattle Storm and the accusation of bullying. So, hey, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so. Hit the notification bell when you do. So, the Seattle Storm is under fire, I guess you should say. People are saying that there was a bad environment, bullying, and abuse against the players from Noel Quinn, and I guess some of the players too, like Skylar Diggins-Smith, was abusive towards her teammates, and maybe Nanike Gumake, because they had player-only meetings without her. So that sounds like she was part of the problem, and so was Skylar Diggins-Smith. And Jewel Lloyd seems to be one of the complainants. And supposedly, it says here, this is an article called What the Bleep is Going On with Seattle Storm. This is from someone who I don't respect, Roberta Rodriguez, who hates Caitlin Clark and is very racist against Caitlin Clark. But she is an investigative reporter, so we'll see. Anyways, there's Skylar Diggins-Smith led several outbursts laced with vulgarity during practice directed at teammates, and Noel Quinn and Diggins-Smith came from an era where this method of coaching and leadership was tolerated. So apparently, as we saw in the game against the Fever, we saw Skylar Diggins-Smith bump Caitlin Clark for really no reason, because Caitlin Clark was not doing it in front of the bench. She was just walking towards her bench from underneath the basket, because Caitlin Clark was raising her hands. And then afterwards, you saw Noel Quinn get in the face. We saw Noel Quinn get in the face of Chrissy Sides. It's still unclear to me whether it was because she didn't pull her starters or because of what Caitlin Clark did. And then Skylar Diggins-Smith is pointing her finger at the coach and yelling also. And I think she's talking about Caitlin Clark. I don't know. But she has no business even being in there. So she's a hothead. Supposedly, Skylar Diggins-Smith didn't get along with Diana Taurasi either. But that could be Diana Taurasi. Who knows? They couldn't stand each other. I have no idea what the truth is. But in this article, it also mentions that Jewel Lloyd gets a bonus if she averages 20 points per game. And supposedly, I find this hard to believe, the coach, pulled her out at certain times in order to make sure she couldn't get that. That's the accusation. She was pulled out when she was hot, the quarter ends, and she would wait 4 to 7 minutes to bring her back in. She's sensitive with Jewel's bonus money. She knew she had averaged 20 points. This is source, and we have no idea who this source is. So I looked up that last game of the year, which she was probably still shooting for the 20 points per game. And Rob, she played more minutes than anybody else. She played 33 minutes, and she was 3 for 19. That has nothing to do with the coach.
No,
that has to do with she can't shoot.
Yeah, how about making the shots? That'd be nice.
Yeah, she shot. That was the worst shooting of her career. She was an awful shooter this year, Rob. She shot 36%, which was lower than Enrique, who shoots 38%. And she only shot 27% from three. And she's a gunner. She takes the most shots in the team.
Except when they played the Fever, she freaking dropped like 2,000 points on them. so
yeah, except when they have no defense from the Fever. She had her best game of the year against the Fever. That was the only time she shot well.
Right.
So I have no idea whether any of this is true. I do know that the coach seemed very soft-spoken and very nice the first time Seattle played the Fever. I think she said something complimentary about Clark after the game. And then the next game, when they played him later in the season, she seemed like a hothead, and she calls herself a gangsta. A gangsta. She's a gangster. Right?
Yeah, you can say gangsta.
I don't know what that means to her, but that sounds silly for her to say that.
But yeah, I mean, with the now we're going to legal terms. When someone says allegations, Mark, does that mean that, or probe? Which is more? Are they kind of similar? There's a probe or there's an allegation against this person?
Well, I think allegations doesn't change regardless of whether it's a legal meaning or not a legal meaning. It's just someone's making an accusation that someone did something. A probe just means there's an investigation. And supposedly there's been an investigation going on for at least 2 weeks by the WNBA, who, by the way, has remained completely silent about this investigation and about the situation, which probably they should. People are saying, why are they silent? I'm going, why should they comment on it?
This whole thing, Mark, is kind of strange because, I mean, all they just say is like, this is what's happening as a probe, and the Seattle Storm organization is lowering up So I'm like, okay, and then that's it. And then, like you said, you get these little bits and pieces, so-called sources about what's supposedly going on with the team. I mean, with her swearing at the players, I mean, maybe I am from the old school too. I mean, as a coach, I wouldn't let my players do that. I'd be the one be the swearing. But I mean, sometimes you let the players kind of, if they're a leader, you let them go off on them. Michael Jordan did that. Michael Jordan was pretty hard on his players too. I mean, get in their faces and stuff.
Right. I'm not sure. No one ever says it was abusive, but that there's no accusations. But you know, whose definition of abusive is it? You got yelled at by another player one time, or is it every practice? I mean, there's a line there. I don't know where to draw it either. I know how I feel about that situation.
I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, look at what about Shaq and Kobe? Pass the ball, Kobe.
I don't know how often Skylar Diggins-Smith did this or how often the coach did it. I even know if Nanike Agumike had anything to do with any of this. All I know is supposedly, you know, there's things going on in the leaders of the team, which seems to be Skylar Diggins-Smith and Nanike. But Jewel Lloyd is also a leader. She's on the Olympic team. You know, she's obviously one of the top players. She's leading.
There's also that the players unfriended each other at one point. I think they said about that. The players have actually unfriended some of each other's. You know, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, they had fewer wins the second half of the season. They had the chemistry seemed to go downhill a little bit, so they weren't playing as well as they were early in the year. Maybe that's because of the chemistry. I don't know. I don't know what's the team is going on.
It could, clash. I mean, with sports, as you know, there's clash of egos, and you know when they come together, one person might not like what they say, or they think they're in charge, or other one's in charge. And unfortunately, like I said, with women, they can get very catty, and then they'll get in the little cliques, groups, and then they'll want like this person because of.
Rob, they wouldn't do that in the WNBA. Clicks and groups.
I know, right? Can you believe that?
The WNBA is like a bunch of cliques, high school girls, or like sorority in college, that if you're not part of, it's a problem. And that's what they did, and that's how they grouped together and got the hatred against Caitlin Clark, because Caitlin Clark wasn't part of their sorority, and she was getting more attention than the entire sorority, essentially what happened is. And that's why all this crap took place with Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, and it trickles down to the teams because, I mean, unfortunately, and that's how they play. I mean, I have to say, even with her team, when she first came, I don't think some of the players, though they cheered, some of the players didn't. I would say Mitchell didn't really care about being around when at one time they interviewed
Mitchell didn't like all the attention Clark was getting because Mitchell was the best player in the team when Clark entered. And then she finally accepted her after she realized how generous Caitlin Clark was in her passing. I think that's right. And how nice a person she was. But I have no idea what's going on with this until the investigation. But I will back up the WNBA for not really saying anything other than there's an investigation going on. We have no comment in this time. But I think for legal reasons, that's what they should say. So people are criticizing for that, but I don't think they understand the legal aspects when an investigation's going on. They shouldn't comment on it. And until something comes out in great detail, I think it's a lot to do about nothing unless the accusations turn out to be really serious. Like,
I mean,
the Derek Hamby one could be very serious.
Right. I was just going to mention that. Yeah. I mean, that seems serious, but I mean, it seems like, it seems like with this situation, the same thing. If it's that bad, why are they keeping this coach? You don't hear anything about rumors about her leaving or anything like that. So,
well, maybe the ownership doesn't think it's as big a problem as the investigation seems to indicate. So we're saying,
some of the players are also on the free agency. So some of the players might be leaving anyway. So they're up for free agency. So
we'll see. We'll see what happens with this investigation. But I thought we'd touch on this subject. I don't have a strong opinion on it since I have no idea whether any of this is true.
Yeah.
I do know I wouldn't want to play with Skylar Diggins-Smith from what I've seen of her. That's all I can say. The coach, I wasn't keen on the coach after her interaction with Christy Sides. I thought she was out of line and she was over the top in that situation was going on, regardless of what her complaint was. Because I didn't think her complaints were valid. When she didn't pull her starters, she didn't know whether the other team was going to pull her starters. She's in her own huddle. So if that was a complaint, that's stupid. And second of all, because I remember Stan Van Gundy said he got accused of that one time. He goes, "Well, when you call off your dogs, I'll call off mine. If you still got your starters and trying to win the game, I'm going to keep my guys in because
well, that's how I coach too, Mark. You know, if you're going to keep your players out there, I'm not going to. Well, but I mean, if the game's of blood, I'm just kind of the opposite. If they're
no, I mean, if it's way out of control, you're obviously going to pull your starters. But
yeah, but I used to see. I mean, I used to gauge it by how eventually if the team was playing too rough near the end of the game, I definitely pulled my starters, and I would actually talk to the coach. I would say, like, "Hey, coach, you know, what are you gonna do?" I would be like, "Hey, coach," or I look at him, you know, what are you gonna do if you're gonna pull your players, or can you have your players not trying to hammer my players just because you're losing because they got frustrated? You know,
we're not. Again, I'm not even 100% clear what the argument was. I could have been because of Caitlin Clark, because that Skylar Diggins-Smith was upset about that, and Caitlin Clark raised her hands, but she didn't do it in front of the Seattle bench again. And Skylar Diggins-Smith was wrong. She bumped Caitlin Clark for no reason. That's just a cheap shot. She should have got at least a technical on that. I don't know.
Again, with the refs, yeah, they didn't. I mean, I can't believe the refs didn't tear up for that. I mean,
she should have been teed up when she was in the sideline with their finger pointing at the refs and yelling. She was out of control then. And again, Caitlin Clark didn't do anything wrong. So if the coach was complaining about that, she was wrong on that too. So I don't have any respect for the coach after that situation because she was wrong in both.
Yeah, I mean, I think we spoke about that earlier when we did that. If my player would have came up to and the coach and did that, I definitely would like sit your butt down. I'm in control of the kids. I'm the coach.
It almost looked like Christy Sides was apologizing, and I'm not sure she did. For what? In either situation, I think she didn't have anything to apologize for.
Right.
So I don't know about this coach, and I know I don't know. I know I've seen Skylar Diggins-Smith in action. I don't know about Nanike, so I don't know. It just seems weird to me they would have players-only meetings without her. Wouldn't they just not have Skylar Diggins-Smith either? If she was the problem too, why was she invited to the meeting? She was part of the problem.
Yeah,
I have no idea, and I have no idea how much of this is true. But it seems all bizarre to me, and it seems like another drama situation from the WNBA, Rob, which you can't get enough of.
Oh yeah, as the world turns, you know, another.
Let us know what you think down below. Another soap opera from the WNBA. No surprise with these catty women. That's all I can say. And they just seem to be an unprofessional league, Rob, that aren't ready for prime time. And probably this was going on all the time, but nobody was paying attention to the league until recently because of Caitlin Clark.
Yeah.
Anyways, if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, please do so and hit the notification bell when you do so you get notified of our next video and you keep Rob happy because Rob's not happy if you're not subscribing.
That's
and
right.
If you want to join our live show, we had one last night. It was a good show. It's every Monday except for major holidays, 6 to 8 Eastern time. And you can also, if you like this video, hit the like button. And if you want to donate to this channel, there's super chats and super thanks down below. There's a link to PayPal. And we'll see you in the next video.
Peace out.